Hello students, today we're going to be factoring quadratics. This is going to be a little bit more than factoring out the monomial. There's a couple more steps to do. Please don't forget to take notes as you go and do the survey that follows at the end. In the past we have been multiplying polynomials, and when we factor we're going to be working backwards, and it's still the same case when we're factoring quadratic equations. For example though, we're going to be seeing two binomials opposed to just pulling out one monomial. So what we've been given in the past are two monomials, and we multiplied through, and after we combined our like terms we got something like the trinomial here on the right. Well, now what's going to be given to you will be the opposite. So we're first going to be given a trinomial such as the one here on the left, and we're going to be factoring it to get two binomials. Please keep in mind that we're going to be doing the tables like we did in class. So here's our first example. We've got p squared minus 3p minus 28. So we're going to be taking a look at the tables that we were doing. Remember, we're going to be multiplying a times c. So in this problem, a is 1, c is negative 28. So when we multiply them, we get negative 28. And on the right hand side of the table, we're going to be putting the value of b. So in this specific problem, the value of b is negative 3. So you're going to search for the two numbers that multiply to give you negative 28 and are adding up to negative 3. And in this specific equation, it's negative 7 and 4. Because negative 7 times 4 gives you that negative 28, and negative 7 plus 4 adds up to negative 3. So now what do we do with that? Well, we're going to take that original trinomial and we're actually going to turn it into a 4-piece polynomial. The reason we find the two numbers is because we're going to split that negative 3p into the two numbers that we've just created. So in this one here, that negative 3p is negative 7p plus 4p. And what should always happen is you can take the two numbers and combine them back to get that negative 3p. So what we're going to be doing is something called factor by grouping. We're going to split this problem exactly in half. And what we're going to do is bring back the factoring at the monomial. So we're first going to focus only on the left-hand side of this line. So just these two pieces right here. And we're going to see, well, what's in common. In this specific one, there's only a p in common, so we're going to factor out a p, and what we're left with is p minus 7. Now on the right hand side, a couple things you have to be careful of. One thing is, whatever the sign is of the number that's right here is the sign of the number that we're going to be pulling out. So looking at 4p minus 28, we see that there's a 4 in common, but since in right here this is a positive 4, we're going to be pulling and making sure we pull out a positive 4. When we do that, we're left with p minus 7. So something very special just happened. In both sides, on the left and the right hand side here, we have the same exact thing inside the parentheses. We want that to happen. If that does not happen, then either you have the wrong numbers here in the middle, or you didn't pull out the greatest common factor. So again, we want it to be the exact same thing, because that represents one of the two binomials that we want to create. The second of the two binomials that we want to create are the two things that we pulled out. The first one, the first part of it will be this p, and the second thing we pulled out would be that plus 4, so the second binomial is p plus 4. And this would be your final answer, p minus 7 times p plus 4. You can always check your answers by going back and multiplying them through. Let's do another example. So in this one we have a value in front, so we're going to make sure we multiply 2 times 36, we get back 72. On the right hand side it'll be negative 17 because b is always on the right. Now since b is negative, we have to make, and the a times c is positive, we have to make sure the two numbers are negative in order to get back the positive 72 when we multiply, but a negative when we add them. So in this problem, the two numbers would be negative 8 and negative 9, because negative 8 times negative 9 is positive 72, and negative 8 plus negative 9 is negative 17. So we're going to repeat that process where I'm going to take that middle term, the negative 17x, and I'm going to split it up into the two numbers that I just created, specifically the negative 8x and the negative 9x. And once again, I'm going to draw a line down the middle and focus on one side at a time. So on the left hand side, between 2x squared and the minus 8x, we have in common a 2, and we have in common an x. So at the same time, I'm going to pull out the 2x and put that out front, because remember the greatest common factor goes out front. And what's left is inside in the middle. So what's left here is when we pull out the 2x will be x minus 4. Now let's take a look at the right. So remember I told you that whatever the sign is in front of the number here is the sign of the thing that we're going to be pulling out. So between 9 and 36, there is a 9 in common. So we're going to be pulling out though a negative 9. And when we do that, we're now again left with x minus 4. So We want this to happen where we have the exact same thing inside the parenthesis. So the thing that's in common is our very first of the two binomials, and the two things we pulled out, this 2x here and this minus 9 here, that is our second binomial. And our final solution is x minus 4 times 2x minus 9. Again, you can always go back and check this by multiplying it through. Taking a look at the next example, we have 4n squared plus 15n minus 54. So once again, we're going to multiply a times c. When we multiply 4 times negative 54, we get negative 216. And then on the right hand side will be b, which is the 15. So once again, the number in front is negative 216, so the number has to be, one number has to be negative. We have to make sure we're adding up to get a positive 15. In this problem, the two numbers would be negative 9 and a positive 24, since they multiply to give you negative 216 and they add to give you a positive 15. So repeating the same process as before, we're going to take the 15n, we're going to split it up into the two numbers that you just came up with in the chart, specifically the negative 9n plus 24n. Again, you should always be able to add those two numbers back up to get the original 15n. So just as before, we're going to split it down the middle, and we're going to find the common factors in each side, the left side and the right side. On the left hand side, 4 and 9 have nothing in common. The only thing we can pull out is a variable, and in this problem would be the letter n. We'll be left with 4n minus 9. Looking at the one on the right, between 24n and negative 54, once again it needs to be positive. We're going to be pulling out a positive 6, and we will once again be left with 4n minus 9, which is the same thing on both sides. That represents our very first of the two binomials. The two things we pulled out, the n and the plus 6, represents our second of the two binomials, so we'll write it out as n plus 6. So our final answer would be 4n minus 9 times n plus 6. Our last example here is actually going to have a common factor that can be pulled out to begin with, and whenever you're doing these problems you should always be checking for that first. So the 4v squared plus 38v plus 90, we actually have a greatest common factor of 2. So the first step is actually to pull out the greatest common factor of 2. So what's going to happen is we'll pull out the number 2 and we'll be left with 2v squared plus 19v plus 45. Now when we create our chart, we're not going to be using the original one. We're going to be using what's inside the parentheses here. So multiplying 2 times 45, we get the number 90. The 19 is b in this problem, not that the original 38. And we're going to find numbers that multiply to 90 and add up to 19. And we find that they are the factors of 9 and 10. 9 times 10 is 90, and 9 plus 10 is 19. So what we're actually going to do is break down the 2v squared plus 19v plus 45, that one there. So the 19v will split into the two numbers we found, the 9v and the 10v. We once again split it in half, focusing on the left side first. The only thing in common is the variable v. So we're going to pull the v out first, leaving us with 2v plus 9 inside. On the right hand side, between 10v and 45, the greatest common factor is the number 5. So we're going to pull that out, and we're going to be left with 2v plus 9. Once again, these two numbers actually, or these two things in the parentheses match up. So we know we have the correct factors. That's going to represent our first of the two binomials, and the v and that positive 5 is going to represent the second of the two binomials. Now we can't forget that we had actually pulled something out from here in the beginning. So what you need to do at this point is now bring that greatest common factor back in order to, when we multiply this out, we would go back to our original thing here. If you had just multiplied these two out, we would only get what's inside the parentheses, not our original equation. So always bring that greatest common factor that you pulled out back into the end, into our final answer. So this would be our final answer here. A couple of things that you want to make sure you remember: always check for greatest common factor first. We like to work with smaller numbers, so by pulling out a greatest common factor make things a whole lot easier. Sometimes it will have them, sometimes it won't. Make sure you're making that table correctly, where you have 8 times c on the left and b on the right, and you're using those numbers to break up the b. Now the order isn't going to matter in which you put them in there. At that point, when you're going to split it in half, and on each side you're going to factor out the greatest common factor. And please, most importantly, you've got to watch your signs as always when you're doing these problems. Again, on the right hand side, whatever the sign is of the first one, that's the sign of the thing that you're going to be pulling out. Make sure you're writing your answer as well. Please make sure you're bringing your notes to class tomorrow, all filled out, and do the survey that follows this video. Please bring your questions to class tomorrow as well. Here are the survey questions.